BYU basketball's 13-game win streak comes to an end as the Cougars fall to Texas Tech 84-71 in a top 15 clash in Big 12 play out in West Texas. Cougars dropped their first game since mid-November. You got to go back to November 15th when BYU lost to UConn. The last time they suffered a setback, and we're unpacking everything that happened in this game and a post-game reaction here on Cougar Tracks, and I'm your BYU insider, Mitch Harper. It was a tough night for BYU that I do believe there were some positives, and I'll get to those here momentarily, but BYU again falls 84-72. Cougars shoot 42% from the field, not bad. 46% from the field is Texas Tech. BYU was 23% from three, 5 of 22. Meanwhile, Texas Tech, who entered the game as the number one three-point shooting team during Big 12 play in the conference, 38% from three, 11 of 29. BYU had 5 more shot attempts than Texas Tech, 64. The Red Raiders only ended up with 59. However, I think they negated that discrepancy with their makes from the three-point line. 6 more makes, that's 18 points compared to BYU, who had 5 three-point makes. They were 15 total from three. Texas Tech, of course, had 33 points from the three-point line. Free throws, BYU, 12 of 14, 86%. Texas Tech shot at a good clip coming into the game. They were not very good from the free throw line, 68% entering this game. They knocked down 83% of their 23 attempts. So it was a night where BYU had opportunities to win this ball game, but it just ultimately didn't happen. It seems like Texas Tech has BYU's number. The Cougars fall to 0-4 all time since joining the Big 12 in 2023. 2 of those losses in the Kevin Young era. The good news, BYU, of course, will close out the regular season on March 7th against these same Red Raiders in Provo. Maybe a different outcome could come into play. I think this game, of course, changed in the second half, and there was a stretch there where BYU built up a lead to 61-52. And it looked like in that moment that this BYU's going to get it done. They're going to go in and get a statement win, a resume-boosting win that puts BYU from a 3 seed in bracketology to maybe a 2 seed and starting to make a case potentially as a 1 seed team. Potentially. They missed that out opportunity to get that conversation surrounding this team. Look, in the Big 12, you get so many opportunities. And BYU's next 5 games, man, you've got so many chances to boost this thing up. It's not the end of the world to lose the game, but it was a missed opportunity by BYU. Here's the stretch of play where I really felt like things swung and where it just kind of turned on its head for BYU. So Rob Wright was brilliant tonight. Career high 28 points in his college career, the best scoring performance of his career. And look, Rob Wright, I think what's so exciting about him is he's getting better over the course of the season. He's getting more chemistry with his teammates. He's an excellent player, one of the best point guards in college basketball, and case in point was on Saturday night in West Texas. I thought he was brilliant. So Rob Wright hits a free throw, puts BYU up 53-50 on Texas Tech in the second half. Then he knocks down a 3. It's 56-52 at that point. Hadim Boop, who I thought had excellent minutes defensively, where Kevin Young talked about it on the radio postgame, can guard anyone 1-5. He showed that. He had a steal on JT Toppin. He was defending at times Christian Anderson. Hadim Boop gave valuable minutes to BYU, and he was on the floor in the stretch where BYU was gaining momentum. Rob Wright then, after that steal on JT Toppin, Rob Wright hits a floater in the paint, taking over, and BYU suddenly is on a 13-2 run, and it's 58-52 BYU. Next possession, BYU gets a stop, and on the next offensive series, Rob Wright finds Richie Saunders for a corner 3, buries it, 61-52, and BYU's on a 16-2 run, and United Supermarket Arena is just stunned because coming into the game, Texas Tech was the favorite. BYU was an underdog, had not beat Texas Tech, and everything is on BYU's side. And what was noteworthy, too, was it's 61-52, and they built that lead with A.J. DeBonsa on the bench. So he's rested up for the final stretch, and it feels like this game is going BYU's way. They're not going to be denied. They're going to get this win. Right before the under 8 timeout, Rob Wright gets fouled. And in that moment, he injures his left pinky, and he immediately goes to the bench, and trainer Rob Ramos gets that examined. He comes back after the under 8 media timeout, hits the 2 free throws, gets subbed, and he's on the bench for 1 minute. Texas Tech, in that 1 minute, goes on a 6-0 run with both possessions, including fouls, involved fouls, where BYU fouled players, and they got to the line and scored 6 points in 2 possessions. One was Moo Davis fouling Petty, shooting a 3-pointer. Petty hits all 3 free throws. And then on the next Texas Tech offensive series, JT Toppin draws an and one. Mihailo Boskovic was a little bit late. Keba Keita made the decision to go help Richie Saunders defend Watts. Watts makes a tough pass to find Toppin. He finishes at the rim and one. And before you know it, it's a 6-0 run. And Rob Wright is dealing with that left pinky, and just things suddenly started to feel different. But to BYU's credit, AJ DeBonsa had an excellent take, gets BYU back up 65-63, but then JT Toppin banks in a 3. And the Red Raiders take a 66-65 lead, and suddenly that 9-point lead for BYU is a distant memory. And it felt like when Toppin hits a bank 3, it's just one of those nights where it's not going your way. And Toppin is a guy that can hit threes, but it's not typically in the scout that Toppin's going to go 3 of 4 from 3. And one of which is banked in. Toppin finishes the night, the reigning Big 12 Player of the Year, 27 points, 11 of 18 from the field, 3 of 4 from 3-point range, 12 rebounds for JT Toppin. The Texas Tech Red Raiders closed out the game, hitting 7 of their last 7 field goal attempts. BYU, meanwhile, closed the game 1 of their last 10. No field goals in the last 2:30. Coming back from the JT Toppin bank 3, BYU still only down 1. Moo Davis, though, misses a wide-open 3-point attempt. And then after that, Hadim Boop, who I mentioned was guarding Christian Anderson, he takes a knee to the head. And again, it was a 1-point game at that time. He doesn't return the rest of the way. And hopefully he's going to be okay. And maybe this week off will be the perfect remedy, not only for Boop, but this entire team. Because remember, again, AJ DeBonsa, that right shoulder, which had blue tape on it tonight, he was asked by the TV broadcasters Dave Fleming and Fran Fraschilla if that shoulder was bothering him. And DeBonsa said it wasn't a problem. But, Boop goes out, and I thought he was an impactful player in this game. I thought that was kind of significant down the stretch with it only being a 1-point game. And then shortly after Boop exits, Watts hits a 3. And the next possession, Rob Wright gets the ball stolen by Watts, and Anderson knocks down a 3 off a pick. And suddenly it's a 3-possession game in favor of Texas Tech at the under 4 timeout. And it just felt like things were getting out of reach for BYU at that moment. It's a pretty banged up team, not making excuses for this BYU squad because they squandered their opportunities, but it feels like this week off, midweek break comes at the right time for this BYU team. But again, coming out of the under 4 timeout, they get a play drawn up for Richie Saunders. He misses. And then Anderson draws a foul on Bidu, and Toppin had a block on AJ that was challenged. Calls reverse, Tech ball, and away you go. And Texas Tech builds up an 11-point lead, and before you know it, they're just off to the races, and it's a 13-point win. And BYU, really down the stretch, not much on the field goal department for BYU. Texas Tech took care of business on the foul line, and they were the more physical team down the stretch. BYU, though, was going blow for blow, and I thought there were some positives in this game. Like I said, Rob Wright, he can take over a ball game. And he's showing that in Big 12 play, averaging 22 points per game for BYU. I also thought another positive in this game, BYU didn't seem fazed by the hostile, energetic crowd for the first 32 minutes. And then it kind of went sideways on them, and it snowballed, and Texas Tech gained momentum and took away this game. I like the defense from BYU's bigs on Toppin, particularly in the first half, with Keita, with Bidu, and Boop. I thought they did a really good job. The first half in particular, I thought it was a great observation, a great pull from Fran Fraschilla that Toppin, he always goes to his left, and BYU was doing a nice job of forcing JT early on to his right hand. Toppin was having to work for everything in that first half, and then in the second half, he really got cooking and looked every bit the part of the Big 12 Player of the Year, rating Big 12 Player of the Year that he is. BYU's bench showed more tonight. 7 points for the bench for BYU, 0 for Texas Tech. And what's crazy coming out of this game is that BYU clearly has more of a bench than Texas Tech, but Texas Tech's star power goes blow for blow with BYU's. And you've got Toppin, you've got Anderson, Watts. They combine for 69 points. BYU's big three combined for 59 points. So that was big for Texas Tech to have Watts step up in a big way for them in this game. But they're pretty much a five-man group is Texas Tech, and they lean heavily on their stars, just as BYU does too. But it was nice to see Bidu and Boop and Boscovich even, knocking down a three. BYU's only three in the first half for the Cougars, but still, you need more, and ultimately you're going to rely on the top end of this rotation. The negatives from this game, only 5 assists for BYU, and I think in large part that ties into the fact that BYU not knocking down their threes. They need better shooting from the three-point range. Third consecutive game in Big 12 play that BYU's at 23% or lower from beyond the arc. They had a 45% outing against Arizona State in game number 2 of Big 12 play. But since iron has been unkind for BYU from beyond the arc, and they've got to get that fixed, because the thing is with BYU and this team, they've got outstanding passers. AJ, Rob Wright, some of the passes that AJ makes, he is going to find you. And we've learned clearly AJ is a team guy. He will find you, knock down the shots. And guys like Moo Davis, 0 of 6. He was 0 of 4 against TCU. He's 0 of 10 in his last 2 games. And I think Moo will turn it around. He's a 3-and-D guy. He can do that. But he's got to hit those threes. It is critical. Richie Saunders, 3 of 7. Still maybe want that a little bit higher, but I thought Richie, for the most part, I liked the game from Richie. I thought Richie brought it tonight. I thought he did a really good job, all things considered. When in phases in the first half where BYU has an early 8-2 deficit, DeBonsa gets a tough and one. Richie gets some Richie-style baskets and really kind of settled the waters for BYU. 3 of 7, you'll take that from Richie every night. He's capable of better, but still, that's a good clip from Richie Saunders. You can't complain with that. Rob Wright, uncharacteristic, 1 of 5. Entering tonight, he was 45% from 3, 20% from Rob Wright. He's got to do a better job hitting those threes because, again, BYU's got guys that can dish the rock. You've got to hit those looks. Some of those threes, they were 5 of 22. There were many that were open. You got to knock them down, and BYU's got to do a better job of that because, again, if this team, which is very capable of being a team that can, on any given night, hit 40% from 3, if they do that, they're going to be darn near unbeatable in this league and potentially in the NCAA tournament. But if you have a night in the tournament where you're going 5 of 22, you could be had. It could happen. Now, still, I don't think you're going to see many games, though, on another negative, where A.J. DeBonsa only goes to the foul line 1 time. And in the second half, 0 foul attempts. And that was the strategy, it seemed like, with Texas Tech. And look, Grant McCaslin, he knows A.J. DeBonsa. He coached with him on Team USA. This is a well-scouted game on both sides. Both of these teams are really good. Excellent ball clubs. There's no shame in losing to Texas Tech because Texas Tech is a really good team. Even if they have a limited bench, they're still a group that could get to the Elite Eight again because Christian Anderson and JT Toppin are absolute studs. But the scouting report clearly said, avoid getting AJ to the foul line. Some of the no calls seem like, where's the whistle? Like there should have been some fouls. But again, ultimately he goes to the foul line only once. Rob Wright, credit to him, 9 of 9 from the charity stripe for Rob Wright. If you hit your free throws, you're going to have career nights. That's a good lesson to be had there. But that is pretty surprising. The way that AJ plays and to only get 1 foul free throw and 0 in the second half, that's pretty crazy. I don't think I was ever going to see that this season in this game. Texas Tech, though, had a massive run to close out this game, and they pulled away. And it was a 32-10 run to close out this game. And it hands BYU their first loss, 84-71 in Big 12 play. Second loss this season. The Cougars dropped to number 15 in the Ken Pom ratings. They dropped there for 2 spots after that setback to Texas Tech. Texas Tech jumps up a few spots. They're up to 21 in the Ken Pom ratings after that big win for Tech. And Tech's got a decent resume. They've got wins over Duke and BYU now, and their losses are to Illinois, Purdue, Arkansas, and Houston. They probably should have beat Houston, potentially. I mean, that was a 69-65 loss at the Fertitta Center. Hardly anyone goes into that building and wins, and they were right there. So Texas Tech playing some really good ball and starting to level things up is the Red Raiders right now. Even though they're 14-4, that's a really good ball club, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun to close out the regular season when those two teams meet again. Again, going forward, though, to put a bow on all of this, BYU is going to be fine. I don't have any worries, big picture, about BYU. Again, you want to see the 3 fall at a higher clip because I know this team's capable of that. I know this team can knock down 40% from 3 or 38%. They are more than enough capable. They've got the players to make that happen. They've got to knock down those opportunities. So I'm not worried about this team, the construction of the roster, because I honestly loved what I saw from Boop. I love what I saw from Bidu. I think he's getting better with each passing game. Keba Keita, the intensity that he brings on the blocks, like they made Toppin work in that first half. Now, Toppin did Toppin things in the second half, and he took over. But I like some things that I saw from BYU's front court. And the back court is superstars with Rob Wright and AJ DeBonsa. And, Rob Wright, career night, showed you an ability to take over a game. You love that. On a night where AJ's not having a signature AJ night with a season-low 13 points and only 1 free throw attempt, you still have guys that can fill the gaps. And that was Richie Saunders with 18 and Rob Wright with a career-high 28. So you like the construction of this team. They'll bounce back. I'm very confident in that. It's just a missed opportunity because, again, it was a game where you could go from the 3 seed to the 2 seed in bracketology. But there's still a long season to go. And it's only January 17th. BYU still got everything in front of them. You look at their next 5 games. Utah at home next Saturday. Big Monday against Arizona. That's going to be a epic game. Arizona probably should be undefeated heading into that game, I would think. They had a battle against UCF today, but I would expect Arizona is going to be undefeated going into that one on Big Monday in Provo. Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse on Saturday, January 31st. That's going to be an outstanding game in Kansas. They've got some voodoo curse on Big 12 teams in Allen Fieldhouse, but BYU has their number the past couple of years, including last season where BYU just obliterated the Jayhawks to the tune of one of their worst losses in program history. And then at Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State pulled out an amazing win against K-State. K-State completely collapsed in Stillwater. That'll be a good test, but I think they should win that one. And then Houston at home. So you get Houston, you get Kansas, you get Arizona. Those are the type of resume-boosting wins that BYU needs because their wins right now, the Villanovas, the Miamis, the Clemsons, the TCUs, they're solid wins. They're really good wins that give you the depth on the resume. You just need that cherry on the top win or two to start talking about the 2 seed and things like that. Because, again, when you look at what we saw last year with the NCAA tournament where it was very chalky, maybe this year could be more prone to what we're accustomed to seeing with the tournament, more teams taking 1 seeds or 2 seeds down. But history typically shows that the 1 seeds have the best path and the best odds to get to the Final Four. And you want to have the best odds and the best potential path to get there. And a 1 seed and a 2 seed are the best paths typically to get the distance and go to Indianapolis because that's what BYU's chasing. Honestly, if you're going to pick between the 2, Big 12 title or a Final Four appearance, I'm taking the Final Four appearance. But you need to have some big wins in the Big 12 because if you do that, you're going to be in the conversation for a Big 12 title, a Final Four, and everything that comes with that. So it was just a missed opportunity. The great thing about the Big 12, you have many opportunities ahead, including another opportunity against this same Texas Tech team at the regular season finale on March 7th. And before we know it, that game will be here. It will. And these teams will be, the core players, of course, will be the same, but the feelings and the momentum of these two teams could be completely different in March 7th and where they're heading, getting ready for the postseason. So a lot of basketball left to be played, but I do come away with some good things with this BYU team. And I think this break is the perfect spot for Kevin Young and his team to get this group rested and ready for a game against Utah, where a rivalry game is always going to have motivation, but I feel pretty good about BYU's chances of getting a comfortable win against the Utes. Utah did have a good win on Saturday against TCU at the Huntsman Center, but I still always like BYU's chances at the Marriott Center against anybody, but especially a team like Utah that's still in the cellar, near the cellar of the Big 12 Conference right now. So be an important week. Get everyone healthy. Get them ready for a stretch run that's going to be really important to building the depth and getting those potential signature wins on the NCAA tournament resume going forward, because before we know it, it's going to be February, and then it's March, and then away we go. It's the postseason and chasing championships and things like that for potentially BYU. But this league is so good. The Big 12 Conference has so much talent at the top end of this league. It is a sizable gap between going on the road against Kansas State, who's 0-5, and going to Lubbock. The top end of this league is outstanding. And BYU got a valuable lesson tonight for these young guys that maybe haven't experienced that. And that can be something that can really be a nice teaching moment for this group that's 16-2, 4-1 in Big 12 play. But that's going to do it for this edition of Cougar Tracks, a post-game edition, as again, BYU falls to Texas Tech 84-71. I've got post-game write-ups on KSLSports.com. You can go check out my takeaways, and also a gamer up on the website and on the KSL Sports app. So you can go check that out, and make sure to subscribe to this show, like this video on the KSL Sports YouTube, subscribe to the KSL Sports YouTube page, and I'll talk to you on Monday. Cougar Tracks is daily, every single day, talking BYU sports. We'll talk to you then here on Cougar Tracks, and it's powered by KSL Sports.